Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hello and welcome. You're watching First Post. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right, welcome to First Sports. On the show today, will India agree to a compromise just so that the Pakistan Cricket Board can get to host the ICC Champions Trophy in a hybrid model next year? I'll give you 3 reasons why that just cannot happen. Meanwhile, in football, Ruud Van Nistelrooy opens up post the Manchester United exit, says he was hurt for being pushed out of the club. Did Manchester United miss a trick there? And religion and a call for equality and inclusivity clearly do not mix, so say footballing captains who seem to have stirred up quite the controversy in the Premier League, Rainbows Laces campaign. Will the footballers face punishment or will their faith and religion have the last say? Stay on for all of that, but first a look at Sports 360. Starting with cricket, Pakistan registered a 10-wicket victory to seal the T20 International Series versus Zimbabwe. Batting first, Zimbabwe were bowled out for 57, their lowest T20 score. Pakistan's Sufyan Mukim picked up a fifer for just 3 runs. Best figures by a Pakistani bowler in T20 internationals. Australia great Don Bradman's baggy green cap that he wore against India during the 1947-1948 series has fetched nearly $500,000 at an auction. Bradman wore the iconic cap during India's first tour as an independent country. The Aussie legend handed the cap to Pankaj Gupta, the then Indian team manager, after the tour. In the Border Gavaskar Trophy, reports say India has banned open training sessions for the rest of the Australia tour. Crowds won't be allowed to see the Indian team practice. A crowd carnival in Adelaide distracted the players. Roughly 3,000 to 4,000 fans turned up to watch the Indian team in one of their training sessions. On to football, Bayern Munich were knocked out of the German Cup after losing to Bayer Leverkusen 1-0 in the round of 16. Munich goalkeeper Manuel Neuer was sent off early for a rough tackle on Jeremy Frimpong. Leverkusen's Nathan Tella struck the only goal against a 10-man Munich side. In the La Liga, table toppers Barcelona beat Mallorca 5-1 to extend their lead over second-placed Real Madrid in the points table. Ferran Torres opened the scoring in the first half, but the two teams were at level heading into the second. Rafinha's brace made it possible for Mallorca to stage a comeback. And India's athlete turned politician Vinesh Phogat has been named in BBC's list of 100 most inspiring and influential women worldwide this year. Phogat recently featured at the Paris Olympics, where she failed to compete in a gold medal bout after being disqualified for being 100 grams overweight. Following that heartbreak, Phogat announced her retirement from wrestling. Now, Pakistan continues to be on a sticky wicket as far as the ICC Champions Trophy is concerned. The latest is that India and ICC will not agree to PCB's demands. Let's delve a little deeper here. The latest from Pakistan is that they were willing to accept the hybrid model for the event next year. That is, India's matches to be played at a neutral venue. But they had a few conditions that they kept in front of the ICC if they needed to agree to that hybrid model for the Champions Trophy next year. One of the key demands was that they will want India to host the ICC events that they're set to conduct till the year 2031, also in a hybrid model, which means Pakistan's matches at a neutral venue across these events. Tit for tat, in other words. Now, while it is admirable to stand up for your rights, it's admirable to fight for your place at the ICC table, the question that will invariably pop up is, do they have the stature, the financial power, or even the necessary backing among other boards to put forth such a demand and be successful at pulling it off? Now, I understand they want to be treated as equals and they want this to be a fair deal for them. But there are many reasons why this just won't work out in the way they want it to. One, the situation in India and Pakistan are not the same. This is the number of violent incidents, essentially attacks, terrorist activities that have been registered in Pakistan since 2020. if you see the breakup, it's only been on the increase, with the number being the highest in this year, 2024. The worrying sign is not just that there have been continuous acts of violence in the country, but that it's consistently been on the rise over the last 4 years. In India, there was just one minor cafe incident in Bengaluru that injured a few people this year. You cannot compare the security situation between the two countries. And definitely not at a time when Pakistan is witnessing violent protests such as this. There has been much unrest just in the days preceding now when I'm speaking to you. So how can a country leverage this scenario to gain an equal footing with regards to hosting an ICC event? 2, does Pakistan have the financial stature that can pull in support from the other boards? This is where PCB, of course, stands in its share when you're talking about the ICC revenue sharing pattern. Of course, this is right till the year of 2027. You've heard about this. We've spoken about it right here. Of course, leading the pack is India. But Pakistan right there is in a single-digit figure. And there is very little chance of that changing, despite that being one of their demands, because a lot of this also depends on how much success the national side is experiencing. What is their standing in the rankings? How much cricket are they playing? And more importantly, how much in-stadia support are the teams garnering? That is fan attendance. All of that contributes to this number that you're seeing on your screens. And there is a huge parity there when compared to, say, India and other countries. Of course, when PCB came out with their demands, they received massive cheers from the public, the Pakistan fans who had denounced the PCB, saying they were spineless. Former cricketers who were criticizing Pakistan for being a walkover have come out saying this is exactly what Pakistan should get and they deserve it.
Revenue and venue from 2025 to 27, important for both PCB and BCCI. BCCI deserves 38.5%, but PCB also deserves more than 5.75%. Hypothetically, if Pakistan-India final in Champions Trophy can be played in Dubai, India, Pakistan final in T20 World Cup 2026 can also be played in Colombo. This parity and equal treatment for which Morsy has been fighting for.
I have to point out regretfully here that the Pakistan team, the Pakistan cricket structure and the management who could have demanded this and probably have gotten some of their requests met with too is not the kind that we are witnessing currently. Today, Pakistan cricket is struggling to find a strong ground to stand on. Moving on to number 3, the biggest and probably the most pertinent reason why this just wouldn't work. Will India even dare to compromise? No. A hybrid model implies revenue sharing. Why would India relent to that, given how much they contribute to the revenue model overall, and how much Indian spectators contribute to the functioning and the success of any ICC event? Even the most controversial and mismanaged T20 World Cup in the US found massive attendance from fans who were Indians. The India matches garnered most crowds, most support and spectatorship. Interestingly, the new ICC chairman, Jay Shah, who's called for an ICC meeting in a day now, has not commented on the Champions Trophy matter yet. But there are all indications that Pakistan will have to settle with something else. Basically settle. Because it doesn't look like India will be willing to bow down to a demand that just means them losing out. And that too, without a reason that can be justified. Now, it seems like Manchester United's fairy tale story ended after Alex Ferguson retired. Now, I don't just say that because of the lack of silverware thereafter, but their ugly separations with players and managers that have become headlines more than the wins themselves. It was either legends like Cristiano Ronaldo leaving after a fallout with the manager, or the manager himself being booted out. And the latest chapter of this ugly story now, of course, is that the management removing interim manager Ruud Van Nistelrooy, despite United being unbeaten in the 4 matches that Van Nistelrooy managed. The club went ahead and appointed Ruben Amorim as the head coach, something even Van Nistelrooy admitted he had been expecting. But what, of course, shocked the former United player was the fact that even his assistant manager contract was terminated.
The only job I would take as an assistant was at United because of the bond that I have with the people in the club and the fans. I was disappointed. Yeah, very much so. And it hurt that I had to leave.
Those words definitely sting. As a player, Ruud Van Nistelrooy was part of a United era that dominated English Premier League, an era where he was loved by fans. Even during his spell, first as assistant manager and then, of course, as interim manager, the Dutchman was clearly in his groove. We now see this separation wasn't something Van Nistelrooy saw coming. But it had to happen as current coach Ruben Amorim felt Nistelrooy didn't feature in his plans or his vision.
I spoke to Ruben Amorim about it. The conversation was grateful, man to man, manager to manager. And that helped a lot to move on and straight away get into talks with new possibilities which lifted my spirits.
Of course, following his exit from United, Nistelrooy's rebound job wasn't too far away, just 105 miles over at the city of Leicester. He has taken up a difficult road managing a struggling Leicester City, a side that till Nistelrooy hadn't won their last 6 matches. But call it a winning habit or just the momentum, whatever it was, Van Nistelrooy made an immediate impact with that club and won his first game in charge 3-1 against West Ham.
I had a meeting with the players and it was the first thing to address the situation that we're in and the challenge that we're facing and what's necessary to get out of that situation where we're in. Obviously, with the run of results over the last weeks and the Brentford game, it's up to reacting and clarity about how we're going to do things. And of course, in 2 days, it's difficult to make a lot of changes. But as a staff, we started to make the changes that we think are necessary in the style of play and in the training sessions and in the structure of the team, but little by little, it's time to build a foundation of a highly motivated, fit team that can compete in this difficult league.
So yes, there was heartbreak, and seems like Nistelrooy is doing his best to move on from that chapter. But the hurt clearly runs deep, especially after being pushed out from a club that has meant everything to him. And he's trying to channelize that hurt clearly into hunger, with Leicester City showing the effects of the Nistelrooy way. Now, while it has done justice to Van Nistelrooy's caliber, as now he's full-time manager, it does make us wonder, did United miss a trick here, make a huge blunder by letting the Dutchman go? Sure, Ruben Amorim is a great manager. He's proved that. And in the 3 matches, he has remained unbeaten at the helm at Manchester United. But would Van Nistelrooy's inclusion have smoothed the transition? And I'm not talking numbers here. In his short stint as manager, Ruud Van Nistelrooy made a difference. And that has a lot to do with the passion that he has had for the club. Van Nistelrooy was somebody who was attached to the club. He was willing to take an assistant manager job for it. He left his family in Netherlands to do this. So more than the stats, though that's important too, more than the style of play, they needed someone who felt more for the club. And that person was Ruud Van Nistelrooy, a sentiment that resonated with the best in the business. And here's the thing, United have tried every big name, attracted star players as well. They finally had an assistant manager who was willing to go that extra mile for them. And it just feels like that's been snapped before it could gain the necessary momentum. Now, of course, the hopes lie in trusting Amorim to bring in that culture that Nistelrooy instilled during his minor stay. It'll be interesting to see United take on Leicester again, and that's still a while away though. It's in March next year. But Amorim will want to prove a point or two when they two clash, and of course, leading the charge for Leicester City to avenge that 3-0 loss would be a hurt Manchester United X. Right, Premier League's Rainbow Laces campaign was started to promote the inclusion of LGBTQ plus community and spread awareness among fans. That campaign has turned controversial, giving birth to an LGBTQ plus row. And at the center of the storm are the religious beliefs of two footballers. One is an English international and Crystal Palace centre-back, Marc Guehi, a Christian, and the other is an Egyptian footballer and Ipswich keeper, Sam Morsy, a practicing Muslim. So how did their faith spark these controversies, and are religious beliefs taking precedence over the Premier League's campaign for the larger sense of inclusivity and equality? Here's a report.
The thin line between religious beliefs and personal preferences like LGBTQ are reasons enough to create friction and controversy, as was witnessed during the Premier League Rainbow Laces program. And given the sensitivity surrounding both religion and LGBTQ, it is always hard to find a middle ground that everyone will agree and adhere to. Marc Guehi, who is a Christian by faith, scribbled "I love Jesus" onto his LGBTQ armband. First during Newcastle's 1-1 draw, and the second time during the 1-0 win over Ipswich Town. This was despite England Football Association, or the FA, prohibiting players from displaying religious messages on their kits. Now Guehi was left off the hook with just a warning following his first act, but that did not stop him. He tweaked the message and continued to sport it in the following game. Fans on social media have given their verdict, a mixed response. How will the FA react now that Guehi has continued to show his religious allegiance despite a warning? And while there is a lot of flack surrounding the whole "I love Jesus" armband controversy, the footballer has found support from his father and manager.
I am saying, did he offend anyone? I don't think so. I do believe in what the Bible says. Jesus loves everyone, and in my opinion, Marc did not offend anyone with what he wrote.
I think we should calm it down. It's LGBT and everyone now is about integration, no discrimination. I think we all have the same opinion. We are in sports, and in sports we are always against discrimination and any kind of abuse. And Marc as well.
While Guehi described his message on the armband and proceeded to show that his faith loved all and treated everyone as equal, there was an opposing incident in another game. Ipswich skipper Sam Morsy stayed away from wearing the armband altogether, saying his faith did not allow him to support LGBTQ. And just like Guehi, he did that on two occasions. First against Nottingham Forest and then against Crystal Palace. Since Morsy is a practicing Muslim, the club defended their captain, but the fans were not amused. The reason why Morsy did not even receive a warning was because English FA does not make it mandatory for captains to wear a rainbow armband. It's a personal preference of a player. Does this mean that religious sentiments are taking precedence over an awareness campaign that is all about a larger issue, inclusivity and equality? The two instances though raise some serious questions. Should the English FA stick to its ground and take stern action against both Guehi and Morsy? Because just recently, we saw Serbia's judoka Neman Aimedov being suspended for 5 months for showing a sign of the cross while walking into the ring at the 2024 Olympic Games. Should the English FA do the same? Tell its players to separate religious faith from everything else. The other question that the FA needs to answer is, why is Morsy's reluctance to wear an armband any different to Guehi scribbling a religious message? If the rules are not to show any religious message, shouldn't the two actions be treated equally? The biggest question here is, sure, religious beliefs may forbid its practitioners from certain things, but given it was a combined awareness month for LGBTQ, a move that symbolized inclusivity and equality, something we all believe in, was it really that difficult to endorse it? A sentiment that is essential. Tell us where you stand on this.
Last serve today is set to wow you. Ukraine's freediver Kateryna Sadurska broke her own world record in Dominica with a dive of 82 meters in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. This was Sadurska's 6th world record. Take a look. Yes, that wraps up First Sports here today. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.